The bitter taste of the tea burned my throat as soon as I swallowed the first sip. My hands trembled, my vision blurred, and my heart began pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked up at Melissa, my daughter-in-law, who stood across the kitchen counter, smiling sweetly as if nothing was wrong. "Do you like it, Eleanor?" she asked in that honey-coated voice she always used when my son was around. But he wasn't home. It was just the two of us. I forced a shaky smile, hiding my panic. The world around me tilted, and my knees weakened. I knew something was very wrong. I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself, pretending to take another sip, but my hand secretly slid to the tiny camera I had hidden under the cabinet. It was recording. I had suspected Melissa for weeks. Strange smells in my food. Pills missing from my cabinet. Her sudden interest in helping me with my meals, always offering to bring me tea or soup. Tonight, I finally had proof, if I could survive long enough to use it. My breathing turned shallow, and I whispered to myself, "Stay calm, Eleanor. Stay calm. Don't let her see you panic." Melissa's eyes sparkled with something almost sinister. "You don't look so good," she said, stepping closer. I gripped the counter tighter, forcing myself to stay upright. "Just a bit tired." "Oh," she cooed. "Maybe you should lie down. I'll take care of everything." That was the moment I knew. She wanted me to collapse, maybe even die right there. My heart raced, and I stumbled toward my bedroom, clutching my stomach, but not before pressing the tiny button on my wristwatch, the one that connected to my hidden cameras and voice recorder. Every word, every movement was being saved. Once inside my room, I locked the door and collapsed onto the bed, gasping. I reached for the antidote pills my doctor had given me, just in case. He had been suspicious too, after finding traces of poison in my system during a recent checkup. I swallowed them quickly, praying they would work in time. Through the door, I heard Melissa's voice. Calm. Almost cheerful. "I hope you're resting, Eleanor. Don't worry. Soon, you won't have to suffer anymore." Her words chilled me to the bone. But I stayed silent, clutching my phone. My vision cleared slightly, and I texted my neighbor, "If anything happens to me, check the camera in the kitchen." Then darkness began to creep into my vision again. Before I passed out, I heard the doorknob jiggle. "Open up, Eleanor," Melissa said softly. "You need help." I couldn't move. I could only hope the recording would be enough. The last thing I remember before everything went black was the sound of her footsteps, slow, deliberate, walking away. When I opened my eyes hours later, the house was silent, but something felt different. My phone was gone. My camera, maybe she found it. Or maybe she didn't. My son would be home soon, and I had to decide. Should I tell him everything right away or wait until I had undeniable proof? As I tried to stand, I heard a soft creak outside my door. Someone was still in the house. The creak outside my door sent a cold shiver down my spine. My heart hammered as I pressed my back against the wall, listening closely. The footsteps were light, almost hesitant, like someone trying not to be heard. Then came a whisper, Melissa's voice, faint but clear. "She's still alive. I'll have to try again." I froze. Try again. My hands trembled as I reached under my pillow for the small voice recorder I always kept hidden there. I clicked it on, praying it would capture everything. I held my breath and stayed perfectly still, pretending to sleep. The doorknob twisted. Slowly. I clenched my teeth, gripping the recorder like a lifeline. The door opened just a crack, and Melissa's shadow spilled into the room. She stood there for a moment, her silhouette outlined by the hallway light. I could see something glinting in her hand, a glass of water. No, not just water. I could smell the bitter scent from across the room. She stepped closer, whispering, "Drink this, Eleanor, it'll make you feel better." I stayed limp, eyes closed, forcing myself to breathe slow and steady. She came right up to the bed and placed the glass on my nightstand. Her hand hovered above me for a second, like she was deciding whether to check if I was conscious. Then she pulled back. "I'll wait," she muttered under her breath. "It won't be long now." She slipped out of the room, and the door clicked shut. I waited another full minute before I moved, my body shaking with adrenaline. The bitter smell from the glass was unmistakable. Poison again. I turned on the recorder fully, making sure it saved her voice, her words. That was evidence number one. But I needed more. Dragging myself to my desk, I opened the drawer where I kept the small USB stick connected to all the house cameras. My heart nearly stopped when I saw the drawer was empty. She had taken it. Panic surged through me, but I reminded myself, the footage auto-uploaded to my cloud. I still had the recordings, safe and untouched. I sat there trembling, replaying her words in my mind. Try again. She wasn't going to stop. When morning came, Melissa was all smiles, acting like the perfect daughter-in-law. She brought me breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast. I stared at the plate, my stomach turning. "Eat, Eleanor," she said sweetly. "You need your strength." I forced a smile. "Thank you, dear. I'm not very hungry right now." She frowned slightly, her eyes narrowing for a moment before she masked it with another fake smile. That's when my son, David, walked in. "Morning, Mom," he said, kissing my forehead. He didn't notice the tension between Melissa and me. "You feeling better?" I nodded weakly. "Just tired." Melissa wrapped her arm around him. "I've been taking such good care of her. You don't have to worry." I bit my tongue. Should I tell him? Should I warn him? My heart ached because I knew he loved her. He wouldn't believe me, not without solid proof. So I stayed silent. For now. Later that afternoon, when Melissa left for her yoga class, I slipped into the kitchen and checked the camera. The light was still blinking. She hadn't found this one. I smiled to myself. I downloaded the footage directly to my phone, making sure every second of her adding something to my tea was saved. But as I sat in the kitchen watching the video, the door opened. Melissa stood there, her eyes cold as ice. "You've been snooping, Eleanor," she said softly, closing the door behind her. My blood ran cold. Before I could react, she stepped closer, her smile twisted. "You think anyone will believe you? You're just an old woman who forgets things. Who's going to trust your word over mine?" I clutched the phone in my hand, hiding it under the table. "Oh, Melissa," I said quietly, my voice trembling but firm, "you'd be surprised what an old woman like me can do." Her smile faltered for just a second. Then she leaned in close and whispered, "Then I guess I'll have to make sure you don't get the chance." The door behind her clicked shut. She locked it. The sound of the lock clicking echoed through the kitchen, each second stretching like an eternity. My breath caught in my throat. Melissa leaned casually against the counter, blocking the only exit. Her eyes had lost all pretense of kindness, only cold calculation remained. "You've been busy, haven't you?" she said, her voice silky but laced with venom. "Recording me, spying on me. You think you're clever." My fingers tightened around the phone hidden under the table. I forced a shaky smile. "Just protecting myself." She tilted her head and chuckled softly, like I had just told a joke. "Protecting yourself from me? Oh, Eleanor. I'm the one who's been taking care of you, cleaning up after you, cooking for you. David thinks I'm an angel." I stayed quiet, my pulse racing. I needed to keep her talking, buy time, and maybe find an opening to get out. Melissa's eyes darted to my lap, and I quickly hid the phone under my sweater. "What are you hiding?" she demanded, stepping closer. "You wouldn't want to know," I whispered, my voice trembling with both fear and defiance. For a split second, she looked uncertain. Then she smirked and opened the drawer, pulling out a sharp kitchen knife. My stomach dropped. You should have just let things be, she said calmly, twirling the knife in her fingers. You've had your time, Eleanor. That inheritance should go to someone who deserves it. Someone young. Someone like me. I swallowed hard, my mind spinning. She wasn't just poisoning me slowly, she was willing to end it right here. I've already sent everything to the cloud, I blurted out, bluffing but hoping she'd believe me. Even if something happens to me, the police will see everything. Her smirk froze, and she stopped mid-step. You're lying. Try me, I said, summoning every ounce of courage I had. One wrong move, Melissa, and you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. For a moment, silence filled the room. She stared at me, gripping the knife tighter, weighing her options. Then she laughed, a sharp, unsettling laugh that sent chills through me. You really are stubborn, she said finally, lowering the knife but not putting it away. Fine. You win this round. She unlocked the door and stepped aside, letting me pass. But as I walked past her, she leaned in close and whispered, This isn't over. You can't stay awake forever. I escaped to my room, locking the door behind me, my whole body trembling. My bluff had worked, at least for now. I backed against the wall and slid down to the floor, clutching the phone like it was my last lifeline. I knew I couldn't rely on luck again. I had to outsmart her completely. That night, while Melissa slept, I uploaded every piece of evidence to multiple places. My email, my lawyer, and even a USB hidden in the garden shed. I wasn't taking any chances. The next morning, Melissa acted as if nothing had happened. She smiled at me, served breakfast, and chatted with David like the perfect wife. But her eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, never left me. David kissed my forehead before leaving for work. Take it easy today, Mom. Melissa will take care of you. The moment the door closed behind him, Melissa's smile dropped. You think you're clever, old woman, she hissed, leaning over me. But I'm smarter. You won't see it coming. I forced myself to smile back, even as my stomach twisted with dread. Melissa, I said quietly, the thing about smart people is they underestimate the old ones. Her expression hardened. As she stormed out of the room, I reached under the table, pressing the small emergency button on my necklace, connected to a hidden camera she didn't know about. The red light blinked on. Every word she had just said was now recorded. I thought I was safe. But that night, I woke to the smell of smoke. Thick smoke curled under my bedroom door, stinging my eyes and burning my throat. I shot up in bed, coughing violently, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. The room was dim, but the glow of an orange flicker seeped through the cracks. Fire. I stumbled to the door, only to find it wouldn't budge. It was locked from the outside. Panic surged through me as the heat grew stronger. I pounded on the door with my fists, screaming, Melissa! David! Help! No answer. Only the distant crackle of flames and the smell of something acrid, gasoline. She had set the house on fire. My legs shook, but survival instinct kicked in. I dragged a chair to the window and smashed it with all my strength. The glass shattered, cutting my hands, but I didn't care. I climbed out, coughing, my nightgown catching on the broken frame. I ripped it free and stumbled onto the grass outside, collapsing to my knees. Behind me, smoke poured out of the house. I turned just in time to see Melissa standing in the driveway, her arms crossed, a twisted smile on her face. Such a shame, Eleanor, she called out. Accidents happen all the time with old houses. My vision swam with tears, partly from smoke, partly from rage. You won't get away with this, I croaked, my voice hoarse. She tilted her head, smirking. Oh, but I will. By the time anyone figures it out, you'll be gone, and the house and everything in it will be mine. Sirens wailed in the distance. Melissa's eyes widened for a moment, and she slipped away into the shadows, leaving me trembling and coughing on the grass. The fire department arrived minutes later, pulling me further away from the burning house. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you know what happened?" one of them asked. I nodded weakly, clutching the tiny necklace camera still recording on my chest. "Yes," I whispered. "I know exactly what happened." As they doused the flames, I realized something. Melissa thought she had destroyed all the evidence. But she didn't know that everything, including her voice threatening me, her setting the fire, was already backed up in multiple places. The next day, I stayed in a hotel, away from her. David visited, his face pale with worry. "Mom, the fire inspector thinks it was an accident," he said, holding my hand. "But I know you. Something's wrong. Tell me." I hesitated. My heart ached seeing the man I raised caught in the middle of this nightmare. "David," I said softly, "your wife, she's not who you think she is." He frowned. "Mom, Melissa loves you. She tried to kill me." I snapped, my voice cracking. "She poisoned me. She set that fire. I have proof." His face went pale, his mouth opening and closing like he didn't know what to say. Finally, he shook his head. "No. No, that's impossible." I reached for my phone and opened the cloud drive. "Watch this." I pressed play. On the screen, Melissa's voice filled the room. "You think anyone will believe you? You're just an old woman who forgets things." Then, another clip of her by the kitchen counter, saying, "You've had your time, Eleanor. That inheritance should go to someone like me." David stared at the phone, his face draining of color. What is this?" "It's your wife," I said coldly. Before he could respond, the hotel room door creaked open. Melissa stood there, her face twisted with rage, holding something in her hand. Melissa's silhouette filled the doorway, her blonde hair falling over her shoulders, but her expression was anything but angelic. Her eyes burned with fury, and in her right hand, she clutched a heavy candlestick, her knuckles white with tension. David stood frozen, torn between his wife and his mother. "Melissa, what are you doing here?" he asked, his voice trembling. She forced a sweet smile, stepping into the room. "I came to check on your mother, of course. I was worried." The words dripped with sarcasm. I could see the rage bubbling just beneath her fake calm. David raised his hands defensively. "Melissa, what's in your hand?" She ignored him and took another step closer. "Eleanor," she said softly, "you've been very busy making me look like a monster." Her gaze locked on mine. "You shouldn't have done that." I stood my ground, even though my knees wobbled. "Everyone knows now, Melissa. It's over. I have the recordings, and they're already in safe hands." For the first time, she hesitated. Her jaw clenched, and she tightened her grip on the candlestick. "You're lying." David stepped between us, his face pale. "Melissa, stop. Mom has proof. You tried to kill her." Her eyes darted to him, and for a split second, the mask slipped completely. "She was going to ruin everything," Melissa hissed. "Don't you get it, David? That inheritance could have changed our lives. We deserve it, not some frail old woman clinging to the past." David's face twisted with disbelief. "You're insane." Melissa let out a bitter laugh. "Insane? No, David. I'm smart. But she pointed at me, she's the problem. Once she's gone, everything will be ours." She raised the candlestick, and instinct took over. I grabbed the lamp from the nightstand and swung it with all my strength. It hit her arm, and the candlestick clattered to the floor. She screamed, clutching her wrist. David jumped forward, pinning her against the wall. "Melissa, stop." She struggled violently, kicking and clawing, but he held her down. "Let me go. She's ruining everything," she shrieked, her voice wild. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. "Help! My daughter-in-law is trying to kill me." Within minutes, the hotel security rushed in, followed by police. Melissa was still thrashing and screaming when they dragged her away in handcuffs. Even as they pulled her out the door, she glared at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Eleanor," she shouted. "You'll regret this." The officers assured me she would be charged, but something in her voice told me she wasn't done. After they left, David sat on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. "Mom, I don't know what to say. I can't believe She almost killed me, David," I said softly, tears streaming down my cheeks. "And you need to be strong enough to see her for who she really is." He looked up, his eyes full of pain. "I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. I should have protected you." I placed my trembling hand on his. "It's not your fault, but we need to stay alert. She won't give up so easily." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway, every gust of wind against the window made my heart race. I replayed her words over and over. This isn't over. The next morning, the phone rang. I answered, expecting the police, but the voice on the other end was cold and familiar. "You think you've won, Eleanor," Melissa whispered. "But you have no idea what's coming." My heart stopped. She was supposed to be in custody. "How did you?" I began, but the line went dead. Before I could process what just happened, a knock sounded at the door. When I opened it, there was no one there. Just a single envelope on the floor. Inside was a photo of me sleeping in the hotel bed, taken just hours ago. My fingers trembled as I clutched the photo, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The picture was clear, too clear. I was asleep in the very bed where I now stood, and the timestamp in the corner showed it was taken at 3:15 a.m. That was only a few hours ago. Melissa had been here. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my heart pounding so loudly I thought it would burst. David rushed over, his face pale. "Mom, what is it?" I handed him the photo with shaking hands. His eyes widened, and he swore under his breath. "How is this possible? She was supposed to be in jail." "She's out," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Or maybe she was never locked up properly. She's watching us, David. She's letting us know she can reach me anytime she wants." David ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "We need to call the police. Right now." I grabbed his arm. "No. If we call them and she disappears again, we'll just look paranoid. We need to trap her. We need undeniable proof." His eyes met mine, torn between fear and determination. "Are you saying we set a trap?" "Yes," I said firmly, though my voice wavered. "We make her think she's winning. We let her come to us." That night, we staged everything. I pretended to be weak, lying in bed like I was sick, while David left the room, loudly announcing he was going out to get medicine. Hidden cameras were placed everywhere, behind the lamp, under the bed, even inside the bathroom vent. Hours passed, and my eyelids grew heavy, but I forced myself to stay awake. The room was silent, so silent I could hear my own heartbeat. Then, at exactly midnight, the door creaked open. Melissa slipped inside like a shadow, her blonde hair pulled back, her face cold and emotionless. In her hand was a syringe, the needle gleaming under the dim light. My stomach dropped, but I stayed still, pretending to sleep. She crept closer, whispering to herself, "Finally, this will all be over." My heart screamed at me to run, to fight, but I held my breath, gripping the panic button hidden under my pillow. The moment she leaned over me, raising the syringe, I pressed it. The alarm on the hidden system went off, loud and blaring. Lights flashed. Melissa gasped, stumbling back. the cameras whirred to life, capturing her every move. Before she could escape, David burst through the door with 2 hotel security guards.
Melissa!
Drop it! He shouted. She screamed, thrashing as the guards tackled her to the ground. The syringe clattered across the floor. You'll regret this, she spat, her voice wild. You can't stop me, Eleanor. Not now, not ever. The guards restrained her as she kicked and screamed, dragging her away while she hurled curses at me. David knelt beside me, his hands shaking. Mom, are you okay? I clutched his arm, tears streaming down my face. We got her this time, David. The cameras got everything. She can't deny it now. But as they led her away, Melissa stopped struggling just long enough to glare at me with a chilling smile. Enjoy your little victory, she hissed. It won't last. Later that night, after the police took her away for the second time, I sat by the window, unable to sleep. I thought about how close I had come to dying, how this woman had infiltrated my life and tried to take everything from me. The phone on the nightstand buzzed. A new message flashed across the screen. It was from an unknown number. You think she's working alone? You're wrong. My blood ran cold. There was someone else involved. The message burned in my mind long after I read it. You think she's working alone? You're wrong. My fingers trembled as I clutched the phone, reading it again and again. Melissa had an accomplice. Someone close. Someone I hadn't even considered. David walked in, still shaken from the night before. Mom, they've locked her up this time, he said, trying to sound reassuring. They have the syringe, the footage, everything. She can't hurt you now. I looked up slowly. David, she's not working alone. His face paled. What do you mean? I handed him the phone. He read the message and swallowed hard. Who would send this? Who else could be involved? I don't know, I said quietly, but whoever it is, they know where we are. They know everything. For the next few days, we stayed at the hotel, both of us on edge. I barely slept, jumping at every sound. Then, on the 3rd night, David left to meet with the police about the evidence. I stayed behind, the air thick with tension. At around midnight, there was a knock at the door. My heart skipped. I approached cautiously. Who is it? I called. Silence. Then a familiar voice. Mom, it's me. Open up. Relief washed over me for a moment, but when I peered through the peephole, my breath caught. It was David, but something felt off. He was standing too stiffly, his eyes darting side to side, as if he wasn't alone. I didn't open the door. David, are you alone? I asked carefully. A pause. Yes, Mom. Just open the door. Something in his tone was wrong, flat, almost robotic. I backed away slowly, my heart thundering. If you're really David, I said, tell me the name of your childhood dog. Silence. Then he said, Buddy. My stomach dropped. We'd never owned a dog. Who are you? I demanded, my voice shaking. The figure outside chuckled softly, and the voice changed, low, malevolent. Smart old lady. The handle rattled violently. I ran to the nightstand, grabbing the taser David had bought for me. The door burst open, the lock snapping, and a man in a ski mask stormed in. My scream caught in my throat as he lunged toward me. I pressed the taser against his arm, electricity crackling. He howled in pain and fell back, giving me just enough time to hit the panic alarm. The room filled with sirens, and security rushed in moments later. The masked man bolted for the window, shattering it as he escaped into the night. When the police arrived, they found a note on the bed where he'd been standing. The handwriting was messy, rushed. Melissa sends her love. She's not finished. David came back shortly after, horrified by what happened. Mom, this is insane. She's in jail. How is she still controlling things from inside? I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the note. She has friends. People willing to do her dirty work. David, this isn't just about the inheritance. There's something bigger going on. The police promised to increase security, but deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Melissa's influence stretched further than I imagined. That night, as I tried to rest, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a video message. With trembling hands, I opened it. The screen showed Melissa in her prison cell, smirking at the camera. "Hello, Eleanor," she purred. "Did you enjoy my little gift tonight? Don't get too comfortable. I have everything planned. And when the time comes, you won't see it coming." The video ended with her blowing a kiss to the camera. As I sat there frozen, the lights in the room flickered and went out, plunging me into darkness. The room went black, swallowing me whole. My heart pounded against my ribs as I fumbled for the emergency flashlight on the nightstand. When the beam finally cut through the darkness, it revealed the broken window still taped from the earlier attack. The curtains swayed slightly, even though the air was still. Then I heard it, slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway outside my room. I gripped the flashlight like a weapon, my other hand clutching the taser. "Who's there?" I called, my voice trembling. No response. The steps grew louder, closer, until they stopped right outside the door. My breath caught as a shadow blocked the thin line of light from under the door. Suddenly, a voice, calm, almost mocking, whispered, "You can't hide from us, Eleanor." Before I could react, the door handle turned slowly. The lock held this time, but the rattling grew more aggressive. I stumbled backward, dialing 911 on my phone with shaking fingers. The operator answered. "911, what's your emergency?" "They're here," I hissed. "Someone's trying to break in. Room 214 at the Riverstone Hotel." The rattling stopped. Silence. Then a laugh, low and cruel, echoed through the hallway before fading away. By the time security arrived, the hallway was empty. No one had seen the intruder. The officers searched my room, but all they found was another note slipped under the door. "Tick-tock, Eleanor. Time's running out." David rushed to the hotel, his face pale with worry. "Mom, this is escalating. They won't stop until—" He stopped himself, swallowing hard. "We need to move you somewhere safe." "They'll find me anywhere," I said bitterly, clutching the note. "Melissa is pulling strings even from prison. She has help, David. Someone close to us." David hesitated, then whispered, "You think it could be someone in the family?" The thought chilled me to the bone. "I don't know. But I'm not waiting to find out." That night, we packed what we could and moved to a safe house arranged by the police. It was small, tucked away in a quiet part of town. For the first time in days, I felt a sliver of safety. But safety was an illusion. At 3 a.m., I woke to a faint noise, like scratching at the window. I crept over, heart hammering, and pulled back the curtain. A figure stood outside, face obscured by a hood, holding up a sign. The flashlight beam caught the words scrawled in red. "The inheritance or your life. Choose wisely." I gasped, and the figure vanished into the night. The next morning, the police reviewed the footage from the outside camera, but it had been tampered with. The screen was nothing but static. The officer looked grim. "Whoever this is, they're skilled. They know what they're doing." David was furious. "This is insane. Why are they after the inheritance so badly? What's so important about it?" I hesitated. There was something I hadn't told him, something about the inheritance that even Melissa didn't fully understand. "David," I said quietly, "the money isn't just money. It's tied to something dangerous." He stared at me, shocked. What do you mean? Before I could explain, my phone buzzed again. A new message appeared, with an attachment. My stomach turned as I opened it. It was a photo of David, taken that morning while he was out getting coffee. The text beneath it read, "Your son is next." My hands shook so violently I almost dropped the phone. Whoever this was, they weren't bluffing. They were watching our every move. And then the message came again, this time as a voice recording. Melissa's voice filled the room. "Eleanor, it's time to end this. Tonight, meet me at the place where it all started. Come alone, or David dies." David grabbed the phone. "No, Mom, this is a trap. You're not going." I looked at him, my heart torn. "I have to. If I don't, they'll kill you." He shook his head desperately. "We'll call the police, set up an ambush." "No," I interrupted. "She'll know. She always knows." That evening, as the sun set, I packed the small recorder, my taser, and the hidden necklace camera. I slipped the flash drive with all the evidence into my pocket. When the clock struck midnight, I walked out of the safe house, my heart pounding. The meeting place Melissa mentioned was the burned ruins of my old house, the place where she had first tried to kill me. As I approached the charred remains, a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was Melissa, her blonde hair falling loosely, her eyes gleaming with madness. But she wasn't alone. Standing beside her was someone I recognized all too well, someone who had been helping me this entire time. The cold night air bit into my skin as I froze in place, staring at the figure next to Melissa. My heart dropped into my stomach. "David," I whispered, my voice barely audible. My son stood there, eyes void of the warmth I once knew, his hands shoved into his pockets like nothing was wrong. Melissa smirked and stepped closer. "Surprised, Eleanor?" she taunted. "You thought your precious son was innocent? You thought he loved you for you? No, dear. He's been with me the entire time." I felt my knees weaken. "David, tell me she's lying." He looked at me, his expression cold and distant. "Mom, you don't understand. Melissa and we need the inheritance. You've lived long enough. You should have handed it over willingly." Tears blurred my vision. "After everything I've done for you, you'd betray me like this?" Melissa laughed softly, wrapping her arm around his. "Oh, Eleanor, it's not betrayal. It's survival. We're the future. You're just in the way." I clenched my fists, rage and heartbreak twisting inside me. "You poisoned me. You set my house on fire. And I pointed at David, my voice cracking, "you helped her." He shrugged as if it meant nothing. "It was supposed to be easy. Quick. But you just wouldn't die." Melissa pulled out a pistol, pointing it straight at me. "This ends tonight. No more games." I raised my hands slowly, but my mind was racing. I needed to stall. "You think killing me will give you everything? You think the inheritance is that simple?" Melissa narrowed her eyes. "What are you talking about?" I took a shaky breath. "The money isn't just sitting in a bank account. It's locked in a trust, one that activates only under very specific conditions. If I die under suspicious circumstances, neither of you gets a cent." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "You're lying." I smiled faintly. "Am I?" "Then pull the trigger and find out." David looked at her, his jaw tight. "Melissa, what if she's telling the truth?" "Shut up," Melissa hissed. "She's bluffing." But she didn't shoot. She hesitated, and that hesitation was all I needed. My fingers brushed against the necklace camera, pressing the hidden emergency button. Somewhere nearby, I knew the police were already tracking my location. They had been monitoring me ever since I left the safe house. Melissa noticed the blinking light on my necklace. Her eyes widened. You! Before she could finish, flashing red and blue lights flooded the ruins. Sirens blared. Officers stormed in, weapons drawn. "Drop the gun!" one of them shouted. Melissa panicked, firing a shot that whizzed past my shoulder. I dove to the ground, heart pounding. David tried to run, but officers tackled him to the dirt. Melissa screamed and fought wildly, but she was quickly disarmed and restrained. As they dragged them both away, Melissa glared at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Eleanor. I'll get out. I'll finish this." David said nothing, only lowering his head in shame as they cuffed him. When the chaos settled, an officer helped me to my feet. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I nodded weakly, though tears streamed down my cheeks. "I'm fine. Just heartbroken." The officers collected my necklace camera, the recording of everything they just confessed. This time, there would be no escape for them. But as they loaded Melissa into the patrol car, she leaned toward the window and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. "You may have won tonight, but someone bigger is coming for you. You have no idea what you've started." The car drove off into the night, leaving me standing among the ashes of my old home, shaken but alive. I thought it was finally over. Then my phone buzzed. A new message appeared, with no number attached. "Melissa was just the beginning. You're in deeper than you know." My hands trembled as I read the words. Somewhere in the darkness, I felt eyes watching me. The message burned on my phone screen as if it were branded into my skin. "Melissa was just the beginning. You're in deeper than you know." For a moment, I stood frozen among the ruins of my old house, feeling the weight of every betrayal crash over me like a wave. David, my only son, had turned against me. Melissa had tried to kill me repeatedly. And now, there was someone else. Someone bigger. The officers escorted me to a secure vehicle, promising to keep me safe until the investigation was complete. But deep down, I knew safety was an illusion. At the police station, they played back the recordings from my necklace camera. Every word of Melissa's confession, every cold statement from David, it was all there. The detectives assured me this would end their threat. They would both face charges that would keep them locked away for decades. Still, the anonymous messages haunted me. Who else was involved? That night, they moved me to a new safe location, a government-owned safe house on the outskirts of town. It was small, hidden among tall pines, with security cameras and guards posted outside. The air smelled of rain and pine needles, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I barely slept, tossing and turning, until I heard the faintest sound, an almost inaudible buzz, coming from the window. I crept over slowly and saw it, a drone hovering just outside, its small camera pointed directly at me. My heart slammed against my ribs. Someone knew exactly where I was. I yanked the curtain shut and hit the panic button. Within minutes, guards rushed in, but by then the drone had vanished into the night. "This isn't just Melissa anymore," I told the officers, my voice shaking. "Whoever is behind this, they're organized. They have resources." The next day, I was summoned to court to testify against Melissa and David. The courtroom was tense, the air thick with anticipation. I sat in the witness box, my hands trembling but my voice steady as I recounted everything, every poisoning attempt, every fire, every threat. Melissa sat across from me, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her lips curled in a mocking smile. David avoided my gaze, his face pale and hollow. When the jury watched the recordings, their expressions hardened. There was no denying the truth. The judge's gavel came down hard. "Melissa Carter, David Carter, you are both hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole." Melissa's smirk faltered, but only for a second. As the guards led her away, she leaned toward me and hissed, "You think prison can hold me? This is far from over." David whispered, almost to himself, "Mom, I'm sorry," before disappearing through the courtroom doors. For a brief moment, I felt relief. Justice had been served, or so I thought. That night, back at the safe house, I allowed myself to breathe for the first time in weeks. I made tea, sat by the window, and whispered to myself, "It's finally over." But then, the lights flickered. My phone buzzed. A new video message appeared. I clicked play with trembling fingers. On the screen was a man in a dark suit, his face hidden in shadows. His voice was calm, almost soothing. "Eleanor," he said, "you've caused quite a stir. Melissa was just a pawn. David was a means to an end. But you've caught our attention. You have something we want, and we will get it, no matter the cost." The screen went black, and I stared at my reflection, my heart pounding with dread. In the distance, I heard the faint hum of another drone circling the house. And then the power went out. I grabbed the taser and whispered to myself, "I'm not dying tonight." Outside, footsteps crunched on the gravel, growing closer. Whoever they weren't hiding anymore. As the front door handle turned slowly, I raised the taser, ready for whatever came through that door. Because this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of something much bigger.